mynews.studio.
Picture this, a sealed crate of shark fins, a customs officer with a DNA swab, and a decision that could shift the balance of the world's oceans. What happens when the entire planet draws a line in the sand?
As of today, December 7th, 2025, let's set the stage. Delegates from 185 countries are in Samarkand, Uzbekistan, for the 20th Conference of the Parties to CITES. That's the World Wildlife Conference, right? The only global treaty with the power to actually ban or limit international trade in wild species.
That's right. And at this meeting, they agreed on the most comprehensive protections for sharks and rays we've ever seen. Over 70 species, manta rays, devil rays, whale sharks, oceanic whitetips, guitarfish, wedgefish, all moved to CITES Appendix 1. For listeners, that means nearly all international commercial trade is now banned. No more trade in their fins, meat, or gill plates, except in very specific cases.
Why now, though? Why did it take so long for sharks and rays to get this level of attention?
Sharks and rays are now the second most threatened group of vertebrates on Earth. Over a third of all species, 37%, face extinction. For pelagic sharks, the ones living in the open ocean, populations have dropped more than 70% in the last 50 years. The main driver is overfishing, especially to supply the fin trade.
And at this conference, every single shark and ray proposal passed. That's actually rare. This wasn't just about protecting well-known animals. It has ripple effects on global seafood markets, on coastal economies, even on climate resilience. But can a treaty really change what happens at sea and in the markets?
Let's unpack that. Under CITES, Appendix 1 means no international commercial trade, period. Appendix 2 allows trade, but only with strict permits. Before this meeting, only a few species were listed under Appendix 1. Now, oceanic whitetips, whale sharks, all manta and devil rays have moved from 2 to 1. So that's a shift from regulated to banned.
And for listeners, why does that matter in practice? Before, customs officers trying to spot illegal fins had to recognize dozens of species, often when they were dried and hard to identify. With over 150 shark and ray species now on Appendix 1 or 2, authorities can seize and prosecute more effectively.
The scale is enormous. These new listings cover about 70% of the global shark and ray meat trade, and an estimated 96% of the fin trade. In real terms, that means most shark fins passing through ports are now presumed illegal.
Let's talk about why sharks and rays matter in the first place. They're not just symbols of the ocean. They're apex predators, or in some cases, mesopredators. Remove them and prey populations can spike, which damages habitats like seagrass beds and coral reefs. On a fifth of surveyed reefs, reef sharks are now functionally extinct. That's a warning sign for the whole ecosystem.
And this isn't just about wildlife, it's about people too. Healthy shark populations support more stable fisheries over time, and they're crucial for ecotourism. Places like the Maldives, Indonesia, and Mozambique see substantial income from whale shark and manta ray tourism. There's also a climate connection. Sharks help maintain seagrass and mangrove systems, which are important carbon stores.
But here's the challenge. CITES can create rules, but can it actually enforce them? How do you prevent a single fin from slipping through a crowded port hidden in a shipping container?
That's the big hurdle now. Identifying fins and gill plates is tricky. They're often dried, cut, and mixed together. Many enforcement agencies lack trained staff or DNA labs. Plus, organized crime plays a major role here. The illegal wildlife trade is one of the world's top transnational crimes.
Are there solutions in sight? We've got visual ID guides, more training, DNA barcoding. These tools exist, but are they enough?
They help, certainly. Visual guides are being used, and some ports are rolling out DNA barcoding, though it's expensive and slow. The important legal change is that any shipment of Appendix 1 species is now presumed illegal unless the exporter can prove otherwise. That gives customs and ports more leverage to act.
But it still comes down to investment, right? Training, labs, stronger laws at the national level. Without that, isn't there a risk the trade just goes deeper underground?
Exactly. Enforcement is weakest where trade volumes are high but resources are limited. Think parts of West Africa, Southeast Asia, the Pacific, and some Latin American coastlines. That's where illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing is especially rampant. The real test is whether countries can close those gaps.
Let's bring it to a human level. What does it mean for a coastal village when the shark fin buyer stops showing up?
In some regions, people really depend on shark and ray products, income, protein, trade revenue. With the new bans, legal export markets will shrink, at least in the short term. That means income shocks for fishers and traders, especially where other options are limited.
But if these species keep declining, wouldn't the fishery collapse anyway? No more sharks, no more income. So the ban is disruptive, but a collapse would be worse.
That's right. The emphasis now is on adaptation, diversifying catches, developing ecotourism, and building community support for conservation. Some NGOs and governments are helping with training and introducing alternative livelihoods. And as supply shrinks and prices rise, demand for shark fin soup and similar products might also start to fall.
But that's a slow transition. There are examples where it's worked, though. Hammerheads and oceanic whitetips have partially recovered in some tuna fisheries where strong rules are in place. Sawfish, which are on Appendix I, have some remnant populations now, thanks to trade bans, plus better habitat and gear management.
Trade bans alone aren't enough. They need to be combined with fisheries management, protected areas, and bycatch reduction. When those measures come together, real recovery is possible.
Let's touch on the science and the politics. This decision was grounded in IUCN Red List data, trade studies, and population trends, all showing steep declines. Over 50 governments co-sponsored these proposals across diverse regions and economies.
That's significant, especially considering the current geopolitical climate. There are disputes over climate finance, wars, trade issues, yet here, countries found common ground. It shows that global agreements can still work, and it sets an example for future talks on biodiversity and climate.
So what does recovery actually look like? Should we expect to see more sharks in the water in 5 years? 10?
Many of these species recover slowly. They mature late and have few offspring. But when international trade is stopped and fishing pressure drops, some populations can stabilize or even rebound. Watch for falls in trade volumes, better bycatch management, maybe even growth in local tourism. But it all depends on habitat health, climate, and good governance.
And if countries hadn't taken action this year?
Many populations were headed for functional or even global extinction. This decision gives them a real chance, but it's not a sure thing.
So what does all this mean for our listeners? What can someone do to help?
If you're a consumer, avoid shark fin and ray products. Ask questions about your seafood's origin. If you travel, choose tour operators who follow no-touch, no-harassment rules for shark tourism. And as citizens, push for stronger fisheries laws, better enforcement, and transparency in trade data.
And keep watching. The real test starts now. Are shark populations recovering? Is illegal trade falling? Are fishing communities finding alternatives? This is a rare global experiment in collective action.
We started with a sealed crate and a DNA swab. Now it's about whether nations can turn this agreement into real ocean recovery. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Give it a try for free.